All right, let me tell you a story that's probably going to mess with the way you look at folks forever, because sometimes the person standing behind the counter making your sandwich with those soft, careful hands is actually the only reason anybody in the room is still breathing. Yeah, you heard me right. Don't let the apron fool you, because the story I'm about to tell you is about Julia Raines, the so-called Miss Sandwich at Phoenix Base, and how a woman everybody thought was just there to slice bread ended up saving a whole unit in the middle of a war. So picture this, it's just another weekday morning at the Phoenix Base Logistics Center, that kind of place that's always half asleep at 4 a.m. except for one person, Julia. She's up before the birds putting together breakfast trays, not just for the soldiers rolling back in from the field, but for anyone who needs something warm to eat or a bit of kindness on a rough day. She's got this long brown hair tied back, real neat soft eyes that always seem to be somewhere else, a quiet way about her, and most of all that faded silver chain with the ancient dog tag letters rubbed smooth. People would crack jokes, probably her ex-boyfriends, or she probably cooked on the front lines and kept the tag as a souvenir. The younger guys, they called her Miss Sandwich, half teasing, half showing off. She never reacted. Not once. She'd just duck her head, push through her shift, disappear back into that little kitchen, moving with this calm focus like nothing could touch her. Nobody ever saw her raise her voice. Nobody saw her get mad. Hell, she barely ever spoke above a whisper. And then one day everything changed. She walked into the operations briefing with a food tray, just like always, right as the big screen flickered on with live drone footage from the field. Someone whistled at her, the way bored officers do when they think they're funny. But she ignored it, just went about her business until she happened to glance up at the screen and something in her face shifted. Her whole body tensed up, and for a second, I swear her eyes changed color. Because what she was seeing wasn't just any old firefight. It was Bravo team trapped, pinned down with radio chatter filling the room, desperate calls for backup, and one face on that video feed that she recognized instantly. And here's where things get real. She just stands there silent while the rest of the room starts shifting uncomfortably, like maybe they're seeing her for the first time. Then right as some officer goes to switch the screen, she says clear as day but soft, "Wait, don't turn it off." Suddenly the whole place is dead quiet, like somebody killed the AC. She points at a soldier on the screen and says, "That guy's name is Evans. I once carried him out of Fog Hill when blood wouldn't stop flowing from his stomach." Everyone just looks at her, including Lieutenant Colonel Lawton, who snaps, "How do you know his name?" Julia doesn't flinch. She reaches for that old chain, slips off the dog tag, and holds it up. Raines, JRCN 457 Tactical Recovery Unit. Suddenly you can feel the temperature in the room drop. One of the assistants is scrambling through records, then looks up, stunned, and mutters, "Sir, she was with Raven 9, disbanded after the Battle of Hill 17. Lawton just stares at her, and she looks back completely calm and says, "I'm the only survivor from that battle. And Evans is a soldier I once saved." Let me back up a sec. These weren't just any soldiers, and that wasn't just any team. Julia had been part of a unit that got wiped off the map, so secret the files were basically black ink on black paper. She was the only one left standing. And now, as the tactical display filled with clean digital lines, all those perfect satellite routes the Academy boys love, she's looking at it, seeing all the places those maps get people killed because she'd walked those valleys when they were soaked in blood. She'd crawled through those rocks when there was nothing but screaming and gunfire overhead. A junior lieutenant pipes up, kind of nervous. "So what do you want to do?" And Julia, this woman they'd all written off, walks right up to the screen and with a finger starts drawing a route that isn't on any map. The Northern Stone Tunnel. Withdrawal, a path only the old recovery teams used, forgotten by almost everyone. She traces out emergency extraction points, hidden caches, places that only mattered if you ever actually had to bleed for them. She pauses, then says quietly, "I can't give orders. But I remember that route, and I'll go." For a long second, nobody says anything. There's no protocol for this, right? No checkbox for send the cook. But on that screen, Bravo team is out of time and everyone knows it. Lawton finally looks up, gives her a slow nod, and over the radio says, "You're cleared for departure. All permissions temporarily reinstated." And that's it. No ceremony, no fanfare. Julia gears up. Old combat vest, a little faded name tag back on her chest, M9 pistol at her hip, hands moving automatically, muscle memory from a life she'd never truly left behind. The helicopter lifts off into the gray morning, and as Phoenix Base drops away, her eyes are fixed on the valleys below the same killing fields she'd once called home. 2 hours later, out at the edge of the forest, her radio crackles. "I've made contact, redirecting Bravo team now." And on the drone feed, the whole base sees her pulling Evans, wounded but alive, out of the tree line. She moves like she's walking on muscle memory, every stone and shadow familiar, guiding them through a path that sidesteps every known enemy position, every death trap on the map. Not a single shot fired, just pure instinct, pure experience, and the kind of courage nobody ever expects from a kitchen staffer. Evans is staring at her like he's seeing a ghost blood on his face, breath ragged. He whispers, "I remember you." And Julia, just grinning that tired, gentle grin, says, "Told you I'd always bring you home." The helicopter swoops in, medics take over, and before anyone can make a big deal about it, Julia disappears back into the shadows. When she returns to base, she heads straight for the kitchen. Not the command center, not a medal ceremony, just the kitchen. An assistant tries to say something, but Julia brushes past, washing her hands like it's any other day. But now the room's gone different. Soldiers look at her, really look at her. And suddenly everyone knows the person making their lunch is the same person who can bring an entire unit home when everyone else gives up. Next day, Lawton calls another briefing. Julia brings in the tea tray and nobody laughs. Lawton points at the new route, the one Julia mapped out. "This is the new extraction protocol proposed by our kitchen staff." Dead silence. He takes the Raven 9 badge from his pocket, sets it on the table, and says, "The only person who ever wore this saved this unit." Julia stands there, just shakes her head and says, "I did what was right. They're still my unit." One of the junior guys stammers out an apology for the jokes. She gives him a kind nod. "That's enough. Just remember that lesson." She looks around at the faces, some embarrassed, some in awe, all changed. "I don't need recognition," she says, voice steady. "I just need to know that when someone calls for help, we answer." The Raven 9 badge sits between them, a reminder that the real work, the life or death stuff, doesn't always get logged in the official reports. Julia picks up her tray, turns to leave. At the door, she pauses. "Next time you see someone in an apron, just remember, they might be the reason you're still here." And with that, she slips out, soft click of the door, gone back to her kitchen, her real battlefield. Lawton picks up the badge, studies it. Any questions about protocol? Not a soul speaks up. Look, the world is full of people who hide in plain sight, who never ask for medals or headlines, who step out of the line between life and death, then go back to doing the little things nobody thinks twice about. Julia Reynolds didn't need applause. She didn't want a parade. She just needed to make sure that this time nobody got left behind. So next time you see someone quietly doing the work, no one else notices, ask yourself, would you even be here if they hadn't been? Sometimes the real heroes aren't out front with guns and flags. Sometimes they're the ones who know when to risk everything for a unit that never stopped being theirs. Now I want to hear what you think. When is it right to step out of the shadows? Do you believe in second chances and redemption? Drop your thoughts below. Whose side are you on, the rule book or the person who gets it done? Let's talk justice, community, and those invisible lines between ordinary and extraordinary.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội, tìm hiểu những video, những video mà có giá trị, những video mà có ý nghĩa, những video mà có thể giúp ích cho mọi người. Mình sẽ chia sẻ những video mà mình thấy hay, những video mà mình thấy hay, những video mà mình thấy hữu ích, những video mà mình thấy
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're